Welcome back to the Standing Room Only podcast. This is episode 85. Big episode today. The end of an era for the Chicago Cubs, a beginning of a new era for the Chicago Bulls. A lot went down after our last episode with the second half of the MLB trade deadline, and we also had free agency start in the NBA. As always, follow our social media page at SROnlyPod on Twitter and Instagram. And you follow our personal pages. Mine is at the Healy6.
I'm iGoose with 4 O's. As always, go ahead, hit that follow button. Let's talk sports. Healy, what an emotional roller coaster for Cubs slash Bulls fans. Me as a Sox fan, very excited, even more excited, obviously. Let's get started with baseball. Let's get it out of the way. As you mentioned, end of an era on the north side. The
Yeah.
rebuild is happening. The rebuild, hopefully, that only takes 2 to 3 years. They've done it before, but we got to talk about it. We got to talk about the destruction, the trades, and what they got in return.
Yeah. And what we're also going to talk about kind of what's come about from some of the players after they've gotten traded. Wanted to mention if you aren't watching on YouTube, I am wearing the Kris Bryant Good at Baseball t-shirt. Had to for this episode. But Kris Bryant gone. They got a couple prospects back. What's funny is a notable uh a verified person on Twitter tweeted like they were going to get Joey Bart and Lamonte Wade Jr. back, which are two great guys in the Giants organization. And instead, they got like the number 7th prospect from them and like number 30. So a little unfortunate with that. I saw Baez and Kimbrel get traded. I was away for the weekend, but as I was away, that final hour of trade deadline, I was just constantly refreshing my phone, just waiting for these deals to go through. Kris Bryant obviously hurt the most, but we're going to talk about the Cubs deals that led up to that. The first big one was Kimbrel. Kimbrel was the first one gone from the Cubs on Friday, and I love the return. Nick Madrigal,
Yeah.
they get him and Cody Hoyer for Craig Kimbrel. White Sox have Kimbrel for the next year and a half. The Cubs finally get one of a leadoff potential guy. They get a guy that can make great contact. They also get a reliever with a lot of control left. The White Sox now can either use Kimbrel or Hendricks out of their pen. I don't know if you heard the options, but the Cubs had the choice between Madrigal or Crochet, and they decided to take Madrigal.
Ooh, I think I would rather probably go Nick Madrigal, especially after
Yeah,
unloading Javi Baez. You still get the middle infielder. Obviously, he's a second baseman.
yeah,
Obviously, he's hurt, but you get him. He's still a little bit cheaper. And I was a fan of Nick Madrigal. We were at the game when he
yeah,
tore his hamstring.
yeah.
And I thought, wow, another injury, another good player. He's had some key hits in the first half of the season. I think the Cubs in that trade, they did okay.
Yeah.
I mean, considering they're not going to make the playoffs, Milwaukee came out of nowhere. Um, they fell off. They had a huge losing streak. Cincinnati's kind of making a push. I just don't see them making the playoffs this year, and especially if they were going to lose some of the other guys, which they ended up unloading. Why not try to get what you can? And I think for the I'm sorry, for the Craig Kimbrel trade, it was a win-win situation. The Sox are in a win now mindset. They're bringing back key guys off injury. They unload a guy who's not going to help them in the playoffs anyways. Let's revamp the bullpen. They got Tapera from the Cubs already as it was. So it was a win-win situation for both Chicago teams in that trade. I think Nick Madrigal can do some great things on the north side. And
Yeah,
he's got speed.
he was one of the missing pieces that the Cubs have needed. They haven't had a leadoff guy since Dexter Fowler has left. They kind of
Mhm.
had Ben Zobrist there for a little bit, but they didn't have like a traditional leadoff type of guy for some of these Cubs guys to drive in. And with that move being made, kind of could just tell. They had Nico Horner. Where were they going to play Horner? Shortstop. The only other option. Madrigal is a second baseman. We were waiting on KB to get traded, so maybe Javi, if they did extend him, they could play third, but I don't know about that. Javi Baez went right after that. Him and Trevor Williams got traded for Pro Armstrong. He's the number 6 prospect in the Cubs system right now. He's an outfielder, and I'm pretty sure he's close to MLB ready. So they got a good return on Baez. The only unfortunate thing about Pete Crow Armstrong is he was a little hurt coming off an injury. So there was some unknownness there. That hurt. He went to the Mets, gonna help them out. Playing shortstop right now until Lindor comes back. Then second base and shortstop, Lindor, Javi. It's gonna be sick. York
Wow.
Mets.
They're good. The Mets, even though they don't have the best record and the East is a little weird for the past couple of seasons, I think the Mets adding Javi is what they needed. Obviously, when Francisco Lindor comes back, he's gonna have to get his mojo back. He struggled for a little bit at the plate, but as you mentioned, second base, shortstop, the inverse, one or the other, it doesn't matter who plays where. That's a nasty middle infield right there defensively.
Javi, he does have that defense, can make things happen tonight in the game. He had one of those great slides where he had two hands forward and he did like the swim move and
Yep, makes him
he was
miss.
home. He was already using his magic. That's why they call him El Mago. And he can hit a home run or two for you in a game. He will strike out a bunch. Plate discipline isn't there, but he could make an impact. His first game, it was funny. They were losing 3-0 count. Got a slider away and he tried hitting it.
Oh my gosh.
He ended up striking out in the AB, but first game as a Met, he really wanted to win it for them.
He ended
So
up
that,
hitting a home run.
yeah. And then, the final trade, which we went over, the dagger, Kris Bryant traded to the Giants. I hate that so much. I tweeted out, I'm like, whatever team KB goes to, I'm rooting for them the rest of the year. He goes to the Giants. I am a hater of the Giants. I'm like, they got to slow down at some point. They just can't keep. I just feel like the Padres and Dodgers are better and should win the division. I don't get how the Giants are so good with their team. So a little weird right there. Also, I played like 8 seasons of Road to the Show in MLB 19, and Kris Bryant in that game went to the Giants. So it's
Oh,
weird. 2 years ago, I was playing and Kris Bryant went to the Giants. So very weird on that. Again, they got a couple prospects back. The Cubs also traded Jake Marisnick for Espinoza, who's like the number 7th or 8th prospect in the Padres system. He's now not top 30 in the Cubs. The pitcher, very good pitcher. Again, though, had a little bit of an injury, so who knows how he's going to. The returns though that the Cubs got, you gotta admit they're pretty good though.
oh
It's a
yeah.
shame that like the dynasty, it's not considered a dynasty because they only won one. But you get what I mean. The era wasn't extended, came to a complete halt. But this isn't going to be a Cubs team where you're like they're losing 100 games and next year, and you're just waiting for a couple free agents system to get back up. The system looking pretty decent, and the Cubs are going to have a lot of money to spend
Yeah.
this
I think
this
that's the
upcoming
key.
offseason.
And I mean, you're talking about a major market, a team that has won recently, so you do kind of have that going for you. I don't even know who's going to be a free agent this year. Any
It's like a
major
weak
players?
central too.
Exactly. The division. I mean, obviously there were moves that could have been made to not to allow this team to have that window, that gap to be better. Castellanos, some of these other guys, Darvish gets traded, and it's a shame, but like you said, there's good returns. They got some well-established players in the league already. You have top 30 prospects, a few top 10 prospects, and money. What else could you ask for? I
Hmm.
personally don't think I think they're gonna win games, but it's not gonna be for 2 to 3 years before we see them actually starting to make some noise in the league again.
Yeah, where you
Um,
could be like, this is the Chicago Cubs. Watch out for them.
exactly. Some pitching would help, obviously. So but they have they established a good base. They have a good base to build off of versus when they had these 100-game lost seasons where you're just like, I'm going to the game to get wrecked. That's all I'm there
Hmm.
for. Which I mean, even then you kind of do it anyways because you're in Wrigleyville, but you kind of get my mojo there. It's kind of like they unloaded. Cubs fans acted like this was not supposed to happen. Like they didn't expect it. All over Facebook, Twitter, everybody. It is upsetting. I get it, but it was like the last 2 years. That's all you've been hearing about is these names and trade rumors, and now they're on the final year of the contract. As a fan, I would want this, knowing they're not coming back. Now, who's to say one of them doesn't come back at the end of the year? You never know.
We're going to talk about that. I'm going to say 0. I think they are officially gone. The owners are just didn't treat them well.
Hmm.
They didn't give them any good offers, and they're just playing for the profits.
Hmm.
So Jed Hoyer came out the other day, talked about how apparently he was like he could sleep well knowing that the Cubs made fair extension offers to their upcoming free agents. And from what I heard, like Javi's uncle, he was like, yeah, the Cubs offered in 2020. Javi made a counter offer, and that was it. That was all they made. Rizzo was on air yesterday, and he was like, like it feels good just to be able to play baseball game again. Like there's so much. He was playing in Chicago. He was the captain. Like there was a lot of pressure. And then just like with the owners and whatnot, like yeah, it feels good just to go out and play baseball again in New
Yeah.
York. And he said he commented on Jed Hoyer's comments. He's like, I'm kind of confused on why he said that. Why say that? Sounds like a bad breakup from the person saying they're fine when they're not. Listen, when it
Yeah.
comes to guys on our team and what we did, gold gloves, silver sluggers, MVPs, rookie of the years, good people, those things cost money. I know it comes down to a business, but when you want your cake and you want to eat it too, that's kind of how it seemed. And Rizzo was on the Chicago sports radio. He said, I think it speaks for itself when there's a common denominator that no one signed. Whoever wants to dig into that can. I just think we had such good memories there. And for Hoyer to come out and say that, it just doesn't really make sense, but it is what it is. And he said, Hoyer said, I think Hoyer acknowledged he expressed frustration when the topic of not getting extensions done. Any of their 3 stars came up uh, on Monday. He said, if I could do it over again, would I've probably ended the sentence earlier. I think I would have. Like I said, we have that rule for a reason, and people get defensive when you start talking about those. Basically, like talking about how maybe they performed. I think the world of Rizzo, I think the world of all those guys, nothing I would ever say would be negative. And if it comes from a place of having hope, we got across the finish line and the
So I'm wondering how much of this did Epstein see happening and decided to get out? Because obviously
yeah.
he left the club before last season, was it? Before the beginning of last season? Or at the end of 2 seasons ago, whatever it was. And, you're like, oh, okay, so he got his title with Boston. He ended up leaving, went to Chicago, got his title there, and he left, right? This is what he does. But it makes you wonder, is it was it Hoyer? Was it the Ricketts? Because obviously there's a lot of noise around the Ricketts, being the owners that they are. So makes you wonder. But I mean, who knows? I mean, Hoyer obviously was part of that winning team. He was a part of,
Yeah.
him and Epstein were the guys. I mean, I think it was a lot of Theo, considering he brought that winning
Hmm.
culture over there. But yeah, it's kind of disappointing to do that to your veterans.
But the whole Theo thing, I think he just knew he wasn't coming back. And due to how complicated this scenario was going to get, kind of had to give up the reins. Because
Yeah,
otherwise, it would have been like, all right, he works for a year. And then it's like, all right, Jed, you got half a year to work with these guys and try to get it done. He's like, what are you putting me in?
exactly.
And yeah, the Ricketts, I think it just came down to them being like, look what you did in 2020 and 2021. You aren't doing so hot. When these guys before 2019 and whatnot or 2020 were pretty decent.
Hmm.
But it's getting better as the days go on. It sucks seeing every guy homer in their debut. Crazy to see that. Rizzo has an
Weird.
RBI in his first 6 games with the Yankees. He reached base like 5 times on Saturday or something like that. He's killing it there. Chris Bryant's been okay. It's so weird. Have you like seen these guys in their new uniforms?
I have.
It's
Um,
weird.
for some reason, Rizzo in the gray Yankees jersey just fits. Javi in the Mets jersey's very weird, but it fits. But then seeing KB with the black and orange or the gray and orange and the like San
Mhm.
Francisco, I'm just like, it's a little. I cannot get used to that.
Mhm.
Seeing Rizzo rock the Chicago themed base batting gloves, like I
Yep.
thought that
KB did
he's like,
too, and
oh, did
Javi.
he?
Well, because
Oh
they didn't
man.
have their equipment.
Oh
They had to
yeah.
just rock with what they had for now. Feel like they
That's
got home
awesome.
or whatnot. So all
And they
3
all
of them
homered with
did.
it. They all
Yep.
homered with it. That's
Uh,
awesome.
Rizzo is a good fit. Going with that though, I could say a positive about Jed Hoyer and where he moved these guys. So he could have traded these guys like any team. He probably had some decent offers, but we'll start off with like Craig Kimbrel. His daughter has a heart condition. So by trading him to the White Sox, he doesn't have to move. He can
Mm.
stay at home for at least another year and a half before they have to do. Javi Baez, he gets traded to a team with his friend Francisco Lindor. Anthony Rizzo, he has family in that area. And then Kris Bryant, he grew up in Vegas.
Yeah,
He
West
was
Coast.
I believe, a Giants fan growing up. So he got traded out west. He's near his family to a team that he enjoyed growing up. So he kind of put all effort into where these guys were getting sent to.
And Chicago fans, none of them are in the division. So you don't have to worry about these guys destroying you, which generally you don't trade within the division, but it does happen. Some teams do it.
Well, having only half a year left and you're not competing, I don't think it would have been surprising to see maybe one of these guys go to one of those teams.
Hmm.
Like I think the Reds were inquiring about KB.
Oh, that'd have
So
been a good
it could
pickup.
have happened. And like, I don't see these guys getting traded to the team specifically signing. They're going to test
Hmm.
a free agent market, probably get offered by a better anyway. So trade deadline has come and gone. A new era in Chicago. I no longer have a favorite player on the Cubs. My 2 jerseys behind me are no longer playing for the team. I need to get I need to finish this off and get a Kris Bryant signed, just white pinstripe one.
Right in the middle.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
been looking. Pretty expensive still.
I'm
I'll
sure
be on
they
the
are.
lookout.
It's all right. New
So
era. Chicago White Sox are looking good. Obviously, we talked about that a little bit. I'm excited. There's a lot to be excited about as Chicago fans, though. I don't know. Are we? Did we talk about the rest of the transact? There's no more. Fernando Tatis might be out for the season for the Pods.
I hate that
Apparently,
because he's the MVP.
dude. They literally are giving him 10 days to see how he recovers before they decide if he's going to have season-ending surgery, which I get. I feel like 10 days isn't enough. We'll see. But hopefully he comes back because, for one, they can still make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Actually, like all three teams should make the playoffs. And he's the most electrifying player that we have next to Shohei Ohtani. Currently playing active, not injured. And obviously, Mike Trout's up there. It's coming back around. So,
Yeah. Fernando Tatis, he's like on a 40-40 pace at the moment. He could have
mhm.
gotten a 40-40 season. There was no one else in the National League kind of close to him in the National League race anyways. So it would suck if he has to miss more time than needed. This is the same thing that happened earlier. He only took 10 days off, came back. Just has to be a little more careful. This is also something that Bodie had. Bodie slid terribly and he was out for a bit. But as we know, Fernando's been dealing with this all year. I think they wait until when you're in this race, can't just rule him out for the rest of the year. Can't.
Yeah, he's literally a game changer. He's a one man, and anybody on that team could do it because they're that talented. But himself can literally change the game with any at bat during the game, and defensively too. Obviously, we've seen him fly around the field a bunch of times.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So we'll keep up with that. Jose Barrios got traded. Got a haul back for him. Good trade for the Blue Jays. Also great trade for the Twins. Kind of reasonable. The Rockies. Gotta talk about them before we move on. Also, the Cardinals somehow grabbing Lester and Happ. Two terrible pitchers. One's on pace to allow the most home runs in a season, and the other is just John Lester, who's not doing great this year and looks weird in a Cardinals uniform.
Yeah,
But the Rockies, they did not trade Trevor Story or John Gray. Why? Because they said that they would get better value from offering Trevor Story a qualifying offer and getting a compensation pick.
wow,
It was a seller's market. The market was high. You could
wow.
sell anyone and get a decent return.
Chicago wanted them. Wanted Trevor Story apparently.
I don't get it. Like, I get Story's not having the best year. You know what type of player he is. I don't get how you think a pick for next year's draft is going to be way better than a prospect you could have gotten.
Yeah. Well, and that is why generally Colorado doesn't contend too often, especially when they started unloading Nolan Arenado and Trevor Story was, I mean, it seemed like St. Louis really wanted him. They wanted to pair them back up. That'd be a pretty sick infield. Nolan Arenado, Goldschmidt, Trevor Story. Who's their second? Is it still who's
No,
that second base for them?
maybe Tommy Edman.
Oh, Tommy Edman. Yeah. He's not bad. He's young. He's got talent. So now that we just have to wait in the off season.
Yeah, the rest of the year, you're going to see me probably tweet about the Yankees, the Mets, and the Giants. Not a lot about the Cubs. I have like nothing to really watch for at the moment. But hey, Cubs tickets should be cheap. Am I right?
Yeah, generally not really though. Cubs tickets, I feel like it's just a tourist attraction. I feel like the tickets are always going to be at least compared to Sox games.
Well, with all three of the big names being gone, you got to just think people are so sad and just don't even want to see the team.
Half price, yeah.
I got bought tickets for
But
like half price like last week. I did
yep,
see all three of them.
pretty much their last couple of games. Rizzo homered his
Hmm.
last homer as a Cub. You saw it?
It was not his last homer as a Cub. He homered the
Oh, he
next
got
day
one the
too.
next. Yeah, he did get the next game. Yep.
I did see Baez walk it off though. I saw KB get a couple hits. Never saw Kris Bryant homer as a Cub. Very sad about that. It's okay
I don't think
though.
I've seen them all homer. I've been to so many Cubs games as a Sox fan. I've just been to a bunch of baseball games. I've seen Schwarber homer. Saw him homer in like 2015 playoffs against the Mets, which is pretty intense. I think I've seen Javi homer a couple of times. I've never ever seen Kris Bryant homer, and it's not like he doesn't hit home runs.
Hmm. Okay though. because
It is
we
okay.
have basketball season coming up.
And now, your starting lineup for your Chicago Bulls. We don't know what the starting lineup's going to be yet. We have a good idea. There were big moves made in the NBA free agency. I didn't think anything could top the MLB trade deadline. And the NBA free agency, which is still ongoing, to me topped it. It topped it. As a Sox fan, it was huge. As a Bulls fan, it was bigger. This like 100 times bigger. As a Bulls fan, I don't think I've ever been as happy as I have been, to the point where I felt like I could cry because our front office has been a bunch of douches. They literally they never cared about the fans. They only cared about themselves and making a point and tradition. And it all stems back from when Jordan left. We saw how Jerry Krause treated that dynasty that could have been a winning team for years and years, even after Jordan. Derrick Rose came along. He was a very nice change of pace. It was a good draft pick. We got lucky in that lottery. We weren't even supposed to be a top four. I think we were like projected like sixth or
13th. We're
13th.
like
Yeah.
we were back end. We're like 11th or something.
And it just so happened that the Bulls got Derrick Rose and he gets hurt. And all of a sudden, the franchise, they don't know what to do. They don't sign anybody. They sign an old Dwayne Wade. They get an old Rajon Rondo. They're trying to sell seats. They're trying to literally get fans in because there's big names, but they're not contending. We get a couple of guys. We get Eversley. We get Arturis, GM. We get the president of basketball operations for the Bulls, who had success with Denver over the last few years, rebuilding that team. Free agency, the biggest splash the Bulls have made in the history of NBA free agency.
I've
Hands down.
never seen this team make moves like they did. Every time they've had a good team in my life, it's been homegrown guys.
Always homegrown. Always homegrown. I can't even think of a time. Noah Boozer was a big signing for us, and he definitely got a max contract, but he wasn't a max contract player. He was consistent, but he wasn't a max contract player. But wow, the Bulls made moves. They started off, first biggest move they made, Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball was a part of a sign and trade deal, which involved Thomas Satoransky, gone. Thaddeus Young, gone. I think there was a draft pick involved, gone. I don't even care. We get Lonzo Ball, who agreed to it. Lonzo wanted out. Lonzo, his dad wanted him out. He wants him in a big market to play, and Chicago is about as big as it gets next to LA and New York. Lonzo Ball comes off of the best year of his career, shooting wise. He literally comes off, he's like a 40% three-point shooter. He has court vision. I'm not going to say he's LaMelo out there passing the ball, but he's damn good. He's more of a true point guard than what we had on the team. After Lonzo Ball, the Bulls go out, and there's rumors of this guy, Demar Derozan. A lot of people forgot about him because he was in San Antonio doing his thing. You know, Toronto won their title after he, essentially was part of that trade to go to
Well,
San Antonio.
they did sign Caruso beforehand.
They did. Oh, Alex Caruso. We can talk about Alex Caruso. You know what? That's disrespect to Alex Caruso because what he did in LA, not just the highlights, the fact that he was like a top 5 perimeter defender, the intensity he brings offensively and defensively. I believe he was a high 30%, low 40% three-point shooter. He did great things in LA that, if you look at him, never judge a book by its cover. A lot of people, he was kind of the laughing stock on social media when he was throwing down dunks. People were like, this guy literally just threw it down. No, he earned his respect the hard way. And you know
Yeah.
what? He earned the contract. What did he get? 4 years, 37 mil, about $9 million a
Uh,
year.
yeah, 4-year, 37, which is great. An extra year longer than I thought. Also, with the New Orleans one, it was Satoransky and Temple. The
Oh,
second one.
Garrett Temple. That's right. That's right.
Thad Young will be used in the next one.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for the correction. So they get Alex Caruso, and a lot of people immediately, I texted you, Healy. I was like, DeMar DeRozan's rumored. They're shopping Kobe White. There's no way they're not.
Mm-hmm.
They can't afford these guys. And why else would you grab Caruso? You have Caruso, you have LaVine, you have Kobe White, you drafted AO. So you have 4 guards. I have a feeling they're shopping Kobe. No, that wasn't the case. This front office somehow made it work. As you mentioned in the next trade, they get DeMar DeRozan, who, in my opinion, was a bigger trade than Lonzo Ball. DeMar DeRozan, after his first 3 years in the league, because I think he came in around like 09, 2010. He's about to be 32 in a couple of days.
Yeah,
Day
he
after my
came in
birthday.
09, 10. It was
His player efficiency rating, his points didn't really go up until about year 3-ish, 3 or 4, but was consistent. He goes to San Antonio. His first year wasn't that great. Second year was okay. Last year, he's a 21, 6-6 type player. Player efficiency rating was up there. Probably one of his best seasons. We're getting him off of one of his best seasons under Greg Popovich, which is
at
huge.
power forward.
Yeah, and he was playing the big. Him and Rudy Gay were swapping, playing the power forward and small forward position. Well, obviously we know why. They didn't really have much going on in San Antonio. San Antonio, they weren't going to keep him, sign and trade. So they end up getting Thaddeus Young in that trade. And didn't they get, who else was trade?
So they got where is it? Alfred Amino with a
Oh,
second
that's
round pick
right.
and a future first.
Which is incredible because
Amino was just a money cap, but he
he was
was,
like $10.5 million.
yes, not worth it.
10, not worth it at all. Thaddeus Young actually balled out last year. In the time that he played, he played for that money. That is a dude that plays hard every game. So they get DeMar DeRozan. Everybody's like, oh, big 3. Lonzo, LaVine, DeRozan. No. Everybody's forgetting about Nikola. They already got Nikola last year.
Yeah.
They have a big 3, big 4. I would say big 3
Mhm.
the other way. I would say LaVine, DeRozan. Lonzo has the potential to make it a big 4.
Yeah.
I'm ecstatic. I thought the Bulls could have, if they ended up pushing for the playoffs at the end of last season, if LaVine didn't miss 2 weeks or whatever with COVID, they could have been playing in that 7 to 10 seed. They
Mhm.
could have played in the play-in. They could have pushed for the playoffs. Now all of a sudden, and they haven't even traded. They kept Kobe White. Lauri Markkanen has the qualifying offer, which still may be a sign and trade eventually. I think they're going to have to save some cap. I don't know how they can manage that. If they keep him, God, they're bench. They have a bench mob. Then they still have a bench mob. I
Mhm.
personally, from starting 5 to key players,
We got
and
Pat
then
Williams stepping up this year.
Pat Williams. Pat Williams is in the summer league. He's stepping up. He's only 19. Did he turn 20 yet? I don't even think he
I,
turned 20.
I don't know.
So I follow these these pages, and I'm like a top fan or whatever on this like diehard Bulls page on Facebook. So I'm like, and I always comment on that because I want people to know what I'm saying. They see the badge. I'm at the top. Everybody's like, oh, playoffs, playoffs, playoffs. Some guys are Debbie Downers about it, whatever. I'm like, guys, you guys don't realize who the X Factor is. Who was the X Factor for the Spurs when everybody thought the Spurs were already good? Kawhi
Kawhi
Leonard.
Leonard.
A young Kawhi Leonard in the finals shut down LeBron. Nobody knew who Kawhi Leonard was. They did after that. If Pat Williams develops, and I don't even know which way he needs to develop, if he just gets more playing time, his defense is there. If his defense gets better, which I think it could, his offense ended up being better than what we thought it was going to be. His mid range is not bad. He can shoot the 3 occasionally. And let's not forget a key signing here. A lot of people are like, "Oh, they got a backup center in Tony Bradley." That's not just a backup center. This is a guy who ended up backing up Joel Embiid for like the second half of the season because he played with like two different teams last year before he got traded. It was like OKC and then Philadelphia. I'm going to say a stat here. Tony Bradley averaged 7 points, almost 6 rebounds, assists, and almost a block a game. He only averaged like 15 minutes a game, bringing his player efficiency rating to just under 21. For comparison, Nikola Vucevic and Zach LaVine were at about 21 for a player efficiency rating. Tony Bradley is very young, high ceiling, a 6'11 center to come off the bench. If he can get 15 minutes, he doesn't need a lot, 15 to 20 minutes, and they can somehow utilize him as a defensive player, his offense is there. I'm telling you, nobody's talking about it. We have a mini bench mob going. There is a mini bench mob being built.
Yeah, I texted you too. I'm like, we just need a spot up shooter and a couple like defensive big men. Got the big man in Bradley.
We got the big man.
And we also got our draft and stash guy coming over.
Yeah, Marco.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about him.
He could shoot.
Yeah. And he's part of the summer league team. So we get to see him play alongside Pat Williams and AO or IO. We get to see this. And I'm excited for the summer league.
Yeah, 6'11" shooter.
Yeah. That's why I think that Markkanen should be a sign and trade. Personally, allow this guy to come in, develop. Pat Williams, let him run the 4. I'm excited. There's a stat, actually. I have a few stats here. Tony Bradley, I'm still on him. NBA Basketball Reference, my favorite site. So last season, he played, it looks like 42 games. Played 42 games. He logged between 20 and 29 minutes 13 times, 30 and 39 minutes 1 time. His total rebounding games, he's had a 15 rebound game, and he had 2 10 to 14 rebound games. And in these games, he only put up like 24 minutes in these games. He had 3 plus block games, 12 1 to 2 steal games. He doesn't foul often. He is, to me, a silent sleeper to look out for. You're talking about a very young, talented kid at this point. He's only 23. He's a Tar Heel. He went to North Carolina. He learned under the greats. And you bring him in under Billy Donovan and let him develop. Let him see what he does. He's not going to play a lot. He's probably going to play your average 8, 12-minute games. There's going to be games where they do play him a little bit more. But as far as right now, the Bulls are a playoff team. This is where we're going to see them not only just win, but now we're going to see, okay, what will the playoff roster be?
Yeah.
Because the rest of the league, even though the Bulls got good, the rest of the league got better. Teams-wise. We saw it. Obviously, LA loaded up. This might be the best Lakers team that LeBron's been a part of. Hands down.
No doubt. No doubt about it.
Miami.
Like with the Bulls making these moves, especially under this new management, the Bulls showed their star, their main player, Zach LaVine, hey, we're committed to trying to win with you. You're a free agent at the end of the year. And all signs leading forward, I think we get an extension out of Zach LaVine at some point.
Yes, Zach LaVine needs to get extended. Personally, I think they need to extend him before the season starts. Give him the max. Simply because the max after this season, he'd be eligible. It goes from like 185 to like 240 or something for next season if they wait. So I don't know the exact numbers, but I don't see how you don't extend him. He has literally been arguably the best player on the court in every game. I will never forget 2 seasons ago, sitting at the local, bar, having a drink, having a, dinner with my girl. And I'm freaking out in the middle of this place because he brought them back against Charlotte down like 12 or 14 points with like 2 minutes left. Gets a game-winning steal, game-winning three. And at that point, I was like, oh, he's a dog. He likes to win. I was like, we don't get that. We don't get this often in Chicago. He has earned his way. Now he's playing in the Olympics under Pop. It's a different type of basketball they play. The Olympics is a different type of basketball. You learn, especially when you're learning under Pop, Greg Popovich and other, I think Coach K, I don't even know, is he still there? He used to
No.
be a part of that.
Team USA,
But
no.
yeah, and so like I think that adds to his resume. This team is Zach LaVine will get a max contract. I just hope it's by the Bulls. I hope after doing this, how could you, if I'm Zach LaVine, why wouldn't I extend? Why would I not want to sign a max contract or a huge contract with the Bulls, knowing, hey, they're here to help me win?
Yeah.
There's these guys up here are serious.
Yeah. For at least 2 to 3 years. They have a
Yeah.
couple great pieces around him.
The window, that's what I'm scared about is the window. I don't know how big it is. It is 2 to 3 years, four max, depending on, well, we can get big names now. Clearly, people want to play for Chicago when it's new management. But with the team as is, they're all, besides LaVine, Nikola's 31, I think, 30. So 2 to 3 years for big guys, 33, 34. DeRozan's turning 32. I think he'll still be fine. I
His
guess I get
game's
worried.
good.
Yeah, I get worried about guys getting in the mid 30s. Like I look at Russ at 32 joining the Lakers, and I'm like, how much longer can he do this for? How much longer can LeBron do it? LeBron's a freak in nature, let's face it. Doing what he does at his age is nuts. So I'm gonna say I feel comfortable for the next 3 years as a Bulls fan, which is good.
Yeah.
Because that allows time for guys to come over.
I have a good question that I was thinking about today, talking to our guy McLean to a little bit about it as well. So Derrick Rose and the Bulls, they ended up winning like 60 something games way back in the day. They were the number 1 team in the East, even with LeBron, Wade, and Bosh as a team. Derrick Rose, obviously the best player out of the bunch. But like right now with how their rosters are, what team would you take in like a series against each other? Or do you think's better? This is like a good conversation. Back then they had the bench mob. You had Rose, you kind of had Noah with the defense. Luol Deng was pretty good. They had like Corver coming off the bench. Brewer started. Or today, where you have multiple all-stars with Vucevic, LaVine, who can score a bunch, Lonzo, and they have a pretty decent.
Offensively, I like this bunch. Overall, that bunch back in the day was great. I just feel like they were more defensive minded. It would be tough. I would
It's a
have to go with
different
today's.
era. It's
It
a
is a
different
different
era.
era. I personally think the East is 100 times better now than what it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Because it was Miami and that was it.
Yes. I think that this
Boston.
team today is better talent-wise than that
Yes.
2011 team.
Absolutely.
Even if they finish in the 4th seed or whatever, I think talent-wise, they're just way better. Especially back then, you had the Spurs who were still good. You had the Mavericks who were still good. You had Kobe playing. The Celtics were kind of falling off. They were okay. The Bucks weren't good. The Pistons were The Hawks were You had the Heat who were
The
great.
Hawks were The Hawks were but they were still a playoff team because that's how bad the East was. Joe Johnson was actually incredible. Joe Johnson and Paul Millsap and
Josh
I don't even
Smith.
know, Josh Smith. Yeah, they had a solid team, but they in Horford, they weren't like I wouldn't
Teague
say they were. I would
on
say
that
they were.
team?
They were definitely. But that's also why I'm like I think this team now would talent wise is better for sure. Is hands down. And it's a bummer that the Bulls didn't get Derrick Rose, but I think Chicago fans need to get off that train. Like I understand we want him to win a championship because of who he is as a person, what he had to deal with. But for the city to bring a championship in, you don't want to pay this guy. And where's he going to play? We're
There's nowhere
loaded.
right now, especially because they also drafted another guard with
Yeah. A
Ao or
potentially good
Io.
guard. And that Io is actually, to me, and I think Stacey King was saying this on Twitter, he should have been a late first round pick.
Yeah, he was a first round talent. It fell into
Yeah.
the second to them.
Right in our hand. We'll take him. Yeah, we're loaded at guards, but that's okay.
Yeah.
There's teams you need guards. I mean, and we have big guards. Like LaVine's a 6'5", 6'6" guard. DeRozan technically was a guard when he first came into the league. He
Hmm.
just was able to shift up. He put some weight on and or some size on, and he's a two-way player. I like Caruso. I think Caruso's great. And Ao, and I don't even know. Do we still have is Troy Brown Jr.? Is he gone? I think he's a free agent too.
That I am not sure.
I think
Take a look
I
right
felt like
now.
he was the only one. I know Laurie Markkinen, they extended the qualifying offer, which again, sign and trade may or may not happen.
He
But Troy
signed
Brown,
21, 22.
we still have Troy Brown Jr., who's a guard forward, I'd call it. He's a 6'6" guard forward. So he's not bad. When
Oh,
he was with Washington during that bubble, he put up big games. So I mean, we have a fallback plan just in case somebody goes down. Knock on wood. I hope it really doesn't happen. But shit happens like that. So I think that the Bulls have a good team, great starting five, depth. You talk about a depth chart. They have that. I'm excited. I'm excited. And the thing is, we don't even know what else could happen. If there's a sign and trade, maybe we get a draft pick. Maybe the Timberwolves, if they really want Markkinen as bad as they do, give us Culver, give us somebody that you don't want for cheap. We need somebody with a little bit less of a contract, but let's stack the bench. I mean, ideally, I don't know if I really want Pat Williams running the four, but with his defense, I don't mind it. I don't mind
yeah.
it at all.
I think the four has changed in history. We aren't seeing these super tall, small forward, power forward guys anymore. We're seeing more athletic guys at the four because of how
Yep.
basketball's changed. And at the four position, you're a lot more versatile and able to like potentially get an advantage against the other.
Yeah. He I'm excited. He's 6'7". 6'7's okay. You can run a 6'7" guy at the four. You have a 7-foot center. And the thing is about the 7-foot center, so not only do you have Lonzo Ball, who's a true point guard, he's got court vision. Vucevic, actually, as a center, reminds me of Noah when it comes to playmaking. He likes to take the ball at the top of this, at the top, and he's not afraid to pass the ball. And he's not a bad passer; he's a good passer. So I feel like with our 3-point shooting capabilities, because most of our guys can shoot the three, we are going to be a top 4 seed in the NBA East. We will make it past the first round. I just don't know how they're going to fare. I don't know any team that's really going to beat a healthy Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Milwaukee, I think Milwaukee's still good. Milwaukee added some
Yeah.
talent. So,
Yeah, I was gonna ask that. That was gonna be my next segment. What seed do you think the Bulls are? I think guaranteed 1 and 2 have to be Bucks and the Nets. 3, I was thinking it was another Sixers lock.
should
I
be a Sixers lock.
but like we got to see what Ben Simmons does in the offseason. If he can play decent again, they're definitely a top 3. They're good defensively. They had Danny Green, Seth Curry. They had some depth with Harris. Embiid was an MVP candidate last year.
It's just such a weird team to me because they went out and signed Andre Drummond,
Yeah.
which is weird. They've notoriously like to run big players, Horford and Embiid, Dwight Howard and Embiid. Now you have Drummond and Embiid. I mean, I get the concept. It's good for offensive rebounding. You can just keep shooting. But Ben Simmons is going to be the biggest factor for them. And what they're asking for him, they want a Harden-like package is like, it's nuts to me because you're talking about a guy who can't shoot. He can't shoot free throws. He's scared to shoot the ball now. He proved it in the playoffs. He's good defensively, sure, that's fine. And he could pass a little bit. That's not worth it to me. That's not worth it.
So I think 4 is a good starting spot.
I'd say 4.
You do have some great teams still. The Hawks should get a little bit better just because they're aging. I don't really see
And
that. They haven't really added people. They did re-sign John Collins. They signed him to a
huge.
max. They signed Trey Young to the max. It's just they haven't really added pieces.
Yeah,
So
I
they're
think
kind
that,
of a decent team.
yeah. Bulls should be a four seed. If the Hawks take the 4th seed, which they could, okay, Bulls are a 5th seed then. But I still think the Bulls are going to edge them out. And that's saying a lot because I think the Hawks only get better, like you said, because they are a very young team getting older. So what happens? Your IQ goes up. You make smarter plays. Trey Young isn't slowing down. That's a fact.
No, not at
John Collins is
all.
only getting better too. So
And then you got the Heat. Should be like a 6th, 7th seed. They did sign Jimmy Butler to the max. He's going to be making $50 million at age 36. I don't know if you watched any of the USA basketball. It's so much more different with how physical they're able to get and just like they aren't able to take like momentum like steps once they catch the ball. You either have to put it on the floor or stop completely.
yep.
So that's like changed things up. But man, Bam Adebayo did not look great meshed with that team.
No, not with it was a mix of because these rules are like these refs look at these guys like, no, you're not going to draw contact, you're not going to force a foul by going into the player. You're going to play basketball. It's at the NBA. And I mean the talent's good around the world. Australia's pretty damn good. I think that Bam Adebayo maybe wasn't the best fit, but it's good that he is playing. Cuz Miami made big moves in grabbing Kyle Lowry to pair up with Jimmy, not even pair up technically to join. That's like their big 3. They kept Oladipo on a very cheap contract, 1-year deal, I believe. Um, they got PJ Tucker,
Mm-hmm.
who obviously defensively ended up being pretty good in the finals. I give him credit. A guy at his height, he's got good length, wingspan. He can shoot the corner 3 lights out. Miami's another one that we can't just count out as being a top 5 seeded
Mm-hmm.
team. The East got really, really good. The West should be good.
Did the
Obviously the
Bucks
Lakers.
lose Portis? I think they did.
Uh
They at least didn't pick up his option.
they didn't pick up his option. He signed a 2-year deal for like $6 million. He did return.
Okay.
2-year 9 mil.
Oh,
2-year 9 mil. Four and a
oh,
half a year.
because in the playoffs having Lopez, Portis, and Antetokounmpo, it was killer. They were just destroying the boards.
Oh, it was nuts. Their offensive rebounding was through the roof, which is weird because Giannis is always driving to the hoop as it is, but they do shoot. They probably are like one of the top 3-point shooting attempts
Okay.
team. So yeah, the East is scary. I can't wait for 2K. I can't wait for 2K to come out. We have 2 months. No, a month and a
1
half.
month.
Month and a half. We'll have
I think it's September
2K22.
10th.
Is it the 10th?
Yep.
Okay. So mark your
Just
calendars.
just over a month.
About 40 days. 36 days to be exact.
Oh boy. Gonna be going to a lot of Bulls games. No doubt about that.
Where do you see the Lakers finishing?
I
Because
think
the Lakers,
number
they
1.
were, yeah, they're number 1. Clippers, Kawhi, which we don't know what he's doing because this is what Kawhi does. He's out for the season.
I think he opted out to make more money, but he's letting the Clippers make these signings that they can right now, and he'll just eat up all the rest.
Whatever's available, which, I
Yeah.
mean, at this point, they need help. They need help. I do think the Clippers would have beaten Phoenix, and I said this before, in that series if Kawhi didn't go down. Simple. Paul George isn't bad every game. So I do think the Lakers are probably the best team in the league right now based on their roster. Malik Monk, they have him projected off the bench, should start at the 2 guard. I don't know about Horton Tucker. He's good, but I think he should come off the bench.
They got
Or
Malik Monk
Russell.
too.
They grabbed Malik Monk. And do you know how old he
Did
is?
they get Kendrick Nunn as well?
And they got Kendrick Nunn. Because Schroeder wanted all this money. He rejected their initial offer, countered, and they're like, you weren't that good. You weren't that good. So they got Russ. They got Kendrick Nunn to come off the bench. They got Malik Monk, who I think should start.
Mm-hmm.
Take a wild guess how old Malik Monk is.
23.
Okay.
Was that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he's been in the league, it seems like, 6 years.
Yeah.
But he came in like right after his first year of college eligibility. He's good. That dude, offensively, defensively, he can only get better, obviously. I think he's gonna start it too. They grabbed Wayne Ellington. They brought him back. They brought everybody back. They brought back Dwight Howard. They brought back all these guys who I think.
And they signed Carmelo.
And they got Melo. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers win 55 games.
I hate that they signed Melo. I don't mind seeing another LeBron championship, but I hate that they signed Melo. Because I'm kind of like, if they make the championship, I'm like, I want him to win. Like him and CP3, I'm like, just please win one before you're done.
You need Melo to win one. After the years he put in New York, Denver years were good, but his New York years, he went off and never got help. They never helped Melo out there. And they had some winning teams, but they were never really a contending team. So I'll be okay if the Lakers win. I just want another good playoffs like we had. We had a very fun playoffs. We had a very fun finals. And I think we will. I think the way the league shifted, having 3 All-Stars is the norm. 2 to 3, 2 minimum, is the norm now on most teams. And it's making it fun. It's making it very fun again. But as a Bulls fan,
it's tough.
I will be attending probably at least 8 home games. No joke.
Yeah.
I'll be at least at 8 home games and the playoffs.
Yep. We are going, no doubt about it. The Suns, they re-signed Chris Paul.
They did.
Signed a massive deal. The thing is, people were like, they signed him to so much. He's like 36 or something. After a couple years, I think there's like a 38 rule where once you hit 38 and you sign like a massive deal, like some of these, his last year at age 40 is non-guaranteed. If he is bad or something, you don't have to pay him the 40.
Yeah.
They have like a buyout at 39.
There's nobody else out there. There's nobody they can get. You might as well keep him. He led them to the finals. He did better than Devin Booker did. No offense to Devin Booker. But why not take him for at least one more solid year, if not maybe 2, and he's going to help these guys develop. He's a NBA, his IQ is through the roof. He's a genius. He's going to end up coaching.
About to be a fun, very fun NBA season. Gonna be a lot of storylines, a lot of new developments.
We're gonna have to get
just please be healthy. Please have a healthier season.
That's all we ask for. I want everybody to be. I want no injuries this year. I want it to be a fair season, a fun season for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Turn it off in the settings.
Exactly. You could. It's okay. But that's going to wrap up this week's episode. Make sure you guys are checking us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever you have there, streaming services. We are on YouTube. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that download button. Follow SR Only Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Follow our personal. I'm iGoose with 4 O's. And then we have Healy.
I am at the Healy6 on Twitter and Instagram. See you next week. Have a good weekend.
Peace.